so here we are with.
Kyle Jocko.
So Kyle, what are we playing today?
Well, if you know me from any other video on YouTube, I am playing Gemini once again.
Okay, so we're playing Gemini, and we took this was a tournament at Collectible Exchange. It was
23 or 24 players?
I believe it was 23 players, 5 rounds, and what was the record for today?
I went 4-1, but I got first place because I got revenge in the final round.
So you got revenge. So one of the person that beat you earlier, you met him in the finals and got to go ahead and take him out.
I got to go ahead and take him out.
All right, so Kyle, let's go ahead and jump into the deck profile. So let's see, what are we working with here in the main?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so to start off, do you want to do it on this?
Yeah.
I got 2 Lone Fire Blossoms. The supers, best card in the deck, no problem about it. 2 Gigaplants, of course, your bread and butter. 1 Ultimate Titanium and 1 Nettles. That's all you need for the plant engine. It's very concise and it's very strong. Moving on to the actual Geminis, we got 2 Dark Valkyrias. I finally cut it down to 2. It used to be at 3, but after a bit of testing, I realized that 2 was actually the more optimal number.
Okay.
I'm playing 2 Blazewing Butterflies, probably one of the MVPs of the deck once it hits the graveyard, or if you have Supervise or the Secret Spice that I'll show in a few minutes. 1 copy of Evocator, just the 19 beat stick, and it can also send any card you need to the graveyard, very strong. Your Toon Magician, just because it's a tuner, and then of course 2 copies of Gemini Soldier, the card that everyone seems to not read correctly.
Yes, the card that has the same effect as what is it, DD Warrior Lady, I believe, right?
Yep.
Where the substep that it activates in.
Yep, it activates right before Raikou and still in the damage step, so no Royal Oppression. And then for the 2 utility cards, I just played a copy of Sangan and a copy of Morphing Jar.
So we're playing Jar.
Yes, that is the first card that usually gets cut in every matchup. I like it in game 1 just to get a read on my opponent and be able to refresh my hand if I need to, but it is definitely a cuttable card. I believe this is a 41 card list, so this would be the first thing to go.
Okay.
Moving on to the spells, I have 3 copies of Supervise because, duh, this is a Gemini deck, you need them. 3 copies of Spark because it's a Gemini deck, you need 3 of them. This is a new edition. 2 copies of Swing of Memory. So this is just your free revive. And if your graveyard is loaded up pretty heavily when you see this card, you're able to just revive Blazewing Butterfly and then switch it out, and it won't die at the end phase. So I love this card, especially if Blazewing's already in the grave. And then, all right, the Secret Spice. 2 copies of Unleash Your Power.
Okay, so go ahead and explain to us what this card is.
So basically, it is all Gemini monsters that are on the field will now have their effects, but they get booked at the end. They get booked face down at the end phase, and it is incredibly strong, especially on a turn 1. If you do Lone Fire into Gigaplant without Supervise, and you have this, you're still gonna just synchro it off anyway. You're not gonna get the revive through the Supervise, but it doesn't matter because this card already used it. So this card has been an MVP. It has. I had a Gemini. I brought out a Reinforced Truth with the Gemini Soldier, and my opponent was holding an MST in their hands. And when they attacked into it, I went ahead and flipped over Unleash Your Power, and they got mad because they thought it was a ultimate offering that they were just going to MST for free. And this card instead saved it, and it won me that game. So Unleash Your Power, very underrated card, insanely strong. And then for the last spell, 1 copy of MST. No Heavy Storm, no Giant Trinades in the side.
Yeah, you mainly want them just like Chain Bulls or something like that.
Yeah, just anything to keep going.
Gotcha.
For the traps, of course, 2 copies of UO. Literally your best card in the deck, basically. Does everything you need to and then some. So I'm happy about that. 2 copies of Reinforced Truth. This is actually a cut down. This used to be a 3, but I changed it down to 2 just to be able to add in those Unleash Your Truths. And this worked even better than I thought, because I wasn't bricking on these as often, same with the Gemini Soldiers. So I think cutting this down to a 2-2 ratio worked out in the end. 2 copies of Bottomless Trap Hole. Obvious, you kind of need those for just about every single deck in this format.
Right.
2 copies of Dust Tornado. My friend was playing this as trap stun, I went against that because you need your UO to keep being alive. So I switched them out to Dust Tornado, and it worked out in the end. I think that Dust Tornado actually pulled its weight more than Trap Sun would have.
Okay.
And then 2 copies of Starlight Road because I hate Black Wings with a living passion, and I want to keep my back row. So that was this card, insanely good. You need 2 copies. I would put it at 3, but I don't want to brick on it. 1 copy of Mirror Force, pretty obvious. 1 copy of Scrap Iron Scarecrow, just to piss off people. Love that card.
I remember you were telling me there was an instance earlier that happened with Scrap Iron Scarecrow. Can you go ahead and explain?
So, in this moment, I had the Gemini Soldier, and my opponent had, I believe it was Lumina and a Wolf. He attacked with it into Lumina. I did Unleash Your Power, which brought out the Dark Valkyria. I thought he was going to attack with the Wolf into the Dark Valkyria, which would have killed it, but I had a Scrap Iron already set, and instead he attacked into the the Gemini Soldier, which I was just able to resolve again, and after that I was able to basically just win a few turns later. So the Scrap Iron Scarecrow just dominates into the Gladiator Beast matchup. Thankfully I didn't play against it today, but it just works against so many other decks. 1 copy Call the Haunted, because you want to revive everything, and then Solemn Judgment. Pretty easy. Should I move on to the side or the extra?
Let's go into the side.
Side deck? Alright, so for the first card we have Neospatian Grand Mole. I love this card in this deck. This card is insanely fun to use, especially in a defensive position. If you have UO and they bring out an entire board state, instead of taking all that damage, you can just go UO, pay 500, bring this out, and watch them suffer, because they don't want to have everything get bounced. This card definitely won me my match in the finals. You'll see where this card comes up. 2 copies of Fossil Dynapatch Cephalo. Once again, UO is a godsend for this card, because you can just go set and watch them attack into it, and the entire board state is gone. Also against Gladiator Beast, this card's hysterical. They'll attack into you, and then when they try to pivot out, just bring this out, and they lose everything. And for the final one, 2 copies of Cyber Dragon for machines, but I've also brought it in a lot in going second, and it worked out very well today. I love Cyber Dragon. Onto the spells on the side, 1 copy of Giant Trunade. This is mainly for just problem decks that play a lot of back row, and I want to be able to set my back row before they can, especially against Black Wings and things like that. But I faced against 3 value players, so that really didn't come in today. And then for the other spell, I played 2 copies of Prohibition.
Okay, so you are. This is a card that I think people are slipping on a lot, but it also does require a lot of knowledge.
It does. It requires a lot of knowledge and a lot of knowledge of what your opponent is playing and how they play.
Yes.
I brought this in a few times today. Unfortunately, I never saw it when I needed it to at the most. But I was able to see it in 1 game against Black Wings, and I just called. I believe it was Kalute, just to make sure that they could not attack over any of my monsters. But it didn't matter, he didn't have it. So it's great when it's in a very good position. Like if your opponent goes Black Whirlwind, search out the Kalute, and you just go, okay, thanks. You're not using that card ever. But it happens. It happens. For the traps, 1 copy of Imperial Iron Wall. I have a love-hate relationship with this card, because I cited this in 3 of my matches today because they were all playing Bayou, and I never saw it. And I was so pissed. But again, 1 of in a 41 card deck, I'm not stressing. I got first place, so I'm not stressing at all.
Right.
1 copy of Torrential Tribute.
Okay.
This is mainly for decks that like to swarm, also for decks that have a lot of problems with if they have to target stuff like Titanial, so Amaryllis, this comes in a lot, and it just seems to do very well. 2 copies of Deep Prison.
Okay.
Yeah, Deep Prison's in the side. Don't necessarily need it in the main. If you need it
for Black Wings, GBs, and
Black Wings, GBs, anything that requires a lot of attacking, this will come in, and it usually cleans up. 1 copy of 7 Tools of the Bandit. This used to be Dark Bribe, and then I realized, damn, I don't want my opponent's drawing.
Right.
So I'd rather just pay the extra life points and just to stop the card in general. This came in a lot. I saw it. I think it was only in the final round when I cited it in, but oh well. It's good when you see it.
Right.
And then 2 copies of Pulling the Rug. Never put this in today because I didn't play a single Frog player. So that's it for the side. Then moving on to the extra deck, there's the first place prize of the Plague Spreader. Here's all my tokens, all different Celebi cards. And then, so one copy of Armory Arm. Um, I thought about making a play where I had Nettles in my hand with a swing of memories, revive the Gemini soldier, normal summon the Nettles, synchro into Armory Arm, and Armory Arm attached to Titanial. And then I thought, no, that's stupid because Titanial's going to leave the field eventually. So I did not do that play, but it still does come up every once in a while. So I definitely still recommend playing this card. Cataster, you're only level 5. Never made this today because I didn't see Nettles and Sangan or Nettles and Morphing Jar at the same time. One copy of Brio. Never made this card today, but if I needed to, I would have, and it probably would have won me a game. But
So it just never came up? Or?
No, because the only time when I was able to make a 6, my opponent was on 0 cards, so I just made Goyo. And I was like, okay, cool, that doesn't matter, just go for Goyo. One copy of Black Rose, because Black Rose is Black Rose. I only use this basically if I see Cyber Dragon with Nettles, which is very rare, so never really came up. 2 copies of the best card ever, Blackbird Drago. People keep forgetting that this card can also spot destroy with as an MST, and it messed up 2 people on their matches. So this card, insanely good. Don't sleep on this card. Colossal Fighter, never made it, never needed to. Dark End Dragon, never made it, never needed to, still great. Red Dragon Archfiend, never made it, never needed to. 2 copies of Stardust Dragon, made this card in just about every single match, and it won me the match if I made it, and it stuck to the field. There was one position. This is also a Scrap Iron situation. I was playing against Lightsworns. They were on top deck situation, and I had Stardust Dragon, a set Scrap Iron Scarecrow, so he couldn't do anything to this card, and it would have given me at least two to three turns to find an out to their JD if they decided to go into it. If they use JD's effect, Stardust Destroy. If they attacked, Scrap Iron Scarecrow. You're not doing anything. One copy of Thought Ruler, never made it today. One copy of Mistworm, never made it today. And I didn't play a single machine, so this never came up either.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's it. That's the entire deck profile.
So what did you end? So what was it today? You said you played against 3-5 Turbo.
So round 1, I played against Black Wings, I believe. I actually wrote it down. So round 1 was Black Wings. I won 2-1. I lost game 1. The games 2 and 3, just did soldier things. Round 2, I played against Lightsworn. Won that 2-1. Game 1, he just blew me out of the water. Game 2, reversed that. And then game 3 was the Stardust Scrap Iron. He couldn't do anything. Round 3 was Vayu. That was my only loss. I bricked out in game 2 really badly. In game 1, he was able to, I don't remember if he was main deck dev, but he just annihilated my hand so fast in game 1. Round 4 was 2-1. I don't really remember much of this match because I had to go into round 5 immediately, and that was the Vayu rematch against round 3, in which I beat him 2-1. He lost because of game 3 when he wasn't able to shotgun his deck devastation virus, and I was able to top deck Lone Fire, and I had 2 copies of Supervise in my hand, and that just it made Stardust, it gave Titanial her effect, and he was like, yeah, I can't really deal with that. So, yeah, that's my entire matches for the day, and that's how I got this Plague Spreader.
Right on. Thank you very much, Kyle. Any shout outs or anything
Yes.
you want to?
Shout out specifically to Anthony. You helped me build this deck. I'm so glad that you're also on the Unleash Your Power train. We still got to keep brewing. And shout out to, of course, Connor, to Ethan, to you, of course. Shout out to everyone who was saying like hell yeah with Gemini's. I did it, so very happy about that.
Thank you very much,
Kyle.
And have a safe drive home, my friends. Deuces.
Deuce.